Welcome, Clean Titans. I'm your host, Ali, and today we are sitting down with a true 0 to 1 growth expert who is not just building the future, but investing in it. Our guest is Joseph Nagle, the head of corporate strategy at Pando Electric, a company revolutionizing EV charging, and a general partner track venture syndicate investing in the next wave of clean technology. Joseph has a fascinating background moving from giants like Nokia and Samsung to brink securing multi-million-dollar deals and grants. We're going to dive deep into the real challenges of EV infrastructure, what a venture investor looks for in a clean tech startup, and get his views on the whole debate. So, Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
You have a unique professional history, starting with major tech players like Nokia and Samsung, before moving into the world of clean tech and EVs. Can you walk us through that transition? What was the aha moment that made you want to apply your considerable experience, your 0 to 1 growth expertise to building a sustainable future?
I think it probably started back in college, to be perfectly honest. That's when the documentary Who Killed the Electric Car came out, which if anybody who's probably in this space now has probably seen that documentary. It was pretty frustrating to watch. We could have had these cars a lot earlier than we actually got them. From that point, I was kind of very intrigued in the electric vehicle revolution. The pivot really happened from the corporate world to startup just sort of by accident. I ended up meeting the founder of EverCharge out and about. We really hit it off, and I was looking for a new challenge to sort of sink my teeth in, and that's what got me kind of moving in that direction anyway. So from that point on, I joined EverCharge, and the rest is history.
You've been involved in some high stakes situations, from securing 300,000 fleet deal to winning a 5.4 million state grant. What's the biggest difference between driving growth at a multinational corporation versus a fast moving clean tech startup?
The biggest difference between the two of those is one matters and the other one doesn't. Working at a big corporate, it doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't matter, right? Like, your contributions typically aren't going to show up in the quarterly report or the year statements from anybody. You begin to realize fairly quickly you're kind of a useless cog in this giant machine, and it'll run without you pretty simply and easily. Whereas at a startup, like, you do matters. And so every second that you choose to spend on X, Y, or Z is going to impact what happens with that business and that company going forward. And you will learn very quickly that your mistakes are very devastating and your successes are like nothing ever. You do learn that the value of your work is much more valuable to the startup rather than sort of a big corporate.
Many of our viewers are entrepreneurs themselves. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to a founder who needs to secure that first major deal or a grant to survive?
Mentor a few startup founders already. I think the biggest thing I would tell anybody out there is don't give up. You'll run into a ton of brick walls, dead ends, hurdles to jump over, hoops to jump through, and it will wear you down, it'll grind you down. That will happen. There are very few people who get the sort of Mark Zuckerberg treatment where they make a thing, they just glide through that process quite easily. Most of you are going to grind, and it's really important to understand that if you don't give up, you will continue to make the incremental progress forward that is necessary to achieve success. And that kind of goes really hand in hand with the other advice that I give is don't be afraid to fail. Failure is actually really beneficial. It sucks when it happens, but it's super beneficial because it'll teach you what not to do in the future. You'll learn from those mistakes. You'll grow from those mistakes. You'll avoid them in the future, and you'll be that much better and more well prepared going forward.
Your work at Pando Electric is focused on what many see as the biggest bottleneck in EV transition: charging infrastructure for multifamily properties. Why is this problem so difficult to solve? And why hasn't a major solution emerged yet?
That's a good question. The reason that there hasn't been a silver bullet here is because if one doesn't exist. Very different. It varies wildly. Something that I tell people all the time is that our parking spaces were not designed to power anything, let alone something as power intensive as an electric vehicle. So that's the big problem number one. There's just not a lot of power in these buildings. Number two is a lot of the charging stations that we've installed in the past, some of them by my former company EverCharge, don't fit that model well. We were able to to get around energy capacity constraints. Then there became sort of maintenance aspect of everything, which there's a connected cable to chargers. That thing breaks every 1 to 3 years. It's a nightmare to kind of to date. People don't put it back on the hook, or they don't put it back in the holster, and it falls on the ground and it breaks. Um, $200-300 part to replace, $200-300 part to replace. It's $200-300 to get an electrician to come do it, and then it's 2 to 4 weeks of wait time. So you're looking at a huge amount of not only you have the monetary loss, but then you have all that time loss too for users to actually use it. So you've created something that property owners aren't really wanting to buy anymore. It's like arms are being twisted by state and government regulations, or there's a handful of EV drivers in the property who are just adamant that they need this and that property, and they eventually get it. But most property owners do not want to put it in for the maintenance aspect now. And that's where Pando comes in. We install smart outlets that are specifically designed for the multifamily space. So they can adjust their power load. We're able to do it for about 50 to 70% less for the upfront install costs. And then there is no ongoing maintenance with an outlet. So you're looking at something that kind of a lot of the barriers that have been preventing EV charging from going into the apartment communities thus far.
So they have to bring their own charger and connect to the outlet, correct?
Today do come with a mobile charging adapter, or at the very least the option to buy one. For whatever reason your car didn't come with one, or you just don't know where it is, you can get them online from sell them on our website as well. They range from about $150 to dollars on the high end. It's not that expensive, and it does unlock the convenience of being able to charge at home easily from just a regular outlet.
That's good, because I remember paying $250 or $275 back in 2018. I had a Chevy Bolt, and I needed to get an adapter for Tesla destination chargers. And I found a company that in California that did it, and I bought it over online. It was great. I could go to motels and many places that had those destination chargers level 2 and just plug in and something would charge the car up because it had DC charging. But that one costs almost 75 or something, close to 300. So if it's down to 100 something, that's great. Company that I talked to in Silicon Valley, this guy, he's got a solution for charging vehicles in apartment buildings. And his solution is kind of Ramba batteries. These robots, they just run around. So you don't even have to park in one specific spot.
Yeah.
In the parking lot, and this robot will come to you, connects from the bottom, and
The one thing I caution people with stuff like that is the more complexity you add into the process, the more likelihood that things are going to break or not work correctly. And that's why it goes back to entrepreneurship. Really, is simple is really important. You have less breakage. Also, why in general better vehicles than combustion. You're talking about thousands of moving parts versus parts, right? You simplified the entire system by simplifying it. Like was done, it's just an outlet, right? It's really hard for an outlet to just not work. Kind of where we're trying to get at, and we can install at scale. So while you have one robot kind of driving around a parking lot, we'll just put outlets everywhere. And then people can just come in and plug in. If they don't have an EV, it's not a big deal. There's other spots that have them, and that's where I think is going to actually unlock a lot of the apartments.
You mentioned compact chargers and advanced AI for intelligent load management. Can you break that down for our audience? How
Yes.
does Pando technology cut installation costs and seamlessly integrate with existing infrastructure?
So there's a couple questions in there. The first one of the units. So the Pando Smart Outlet is about the size of like a college textbook, dictionary size. I wonder how old I have to be that people actually use a physical dictionary. Not that big, which is really important. A lot of parking garages just don't have any space to put in some big systems. So you want something really compact.
Sure. That you now apply in your current roles at Pando and as an investor?
I have a lot of learnings from Orange, but I think the biggest one is even though there's products that are right sized for the market, a lot of the time people have been trained to think of something, EV charging, and it needs to look like the thing that they've been trained that it needs to look like. So when people ask people what do they envision for an EV charger, it's typically a box on the wall with a big long black cable coming out of it. If it doesn't have that cable, all of a sudden people start freaking out about, will this be able to work? Does it charge my vehicle? And it's like, well, yeah, you can plug into it and it'll charge the vehicle. It's really difficult to get people over that perception when they've already been trained like the thing that you need. And that was one of the bigger things that I kind of worked through with Pando, was getting people to understand that EV charging doesn't have to come from a charging station. An outlet is a charging station.
Yeah, I remember back in 2019, 20, my wife was working in a different city and she was living in an apartment. And they just had a socket building. And we had two EVs, a Tesla and a Bolt. And we used to just plug in the wall charger into that. It took a lot of time, but did the job, day and a half or something, did the job.
Yeah, and I think that's, and more people drive EVs, more people will understand this. Takes time and familiarity with products, and that's where we're already heading. So I'm not too worried about it. That was like a big takeaway.
That's a common mistake you see founders in the clean tech space make when they are looking for investments.
Hmm. I think one falls in love with their own product. So you often see some people who like and need to have that belief in order to succeed. You need to believe that the thing that you've built is the best thing that exists. But I think a lot of people don't take a look at the market or what the market wants or what the market thinks. And like, you have the greatest product on the face of the earth. But if the market believes that it doesn't fit or it doesn't work, you're going to have a really hard time convincing people that what you've built will work for them.
Let's talk about your viral post on the street, where you share some harsh words for Elon regarding the Cybertruck, calling it not a working man's truck and never will be. Why did you feel so strongly about that?
Because it's true. I grew up, construction sites with my uncle. Remember my uncles getting in furious debates over their pickup trucks. It's better a Ford, a Dodge, a Chevy. That car, it's not a truck. I don't know what it is. It's kind of in its own little category. It's a car with a small bed. It doesn't have the towing capacity that most like the big Super Duties do. Not a work truck. And I think even if you made it like all the specs would be able to match it with a big Super Duty, you would still have a really hard time convincing people like my uncles to even buy that, because they're not going to show up to a work site in that thing. Like, not gonna happen. I would think that that's my biggest issue with it. I'm like, a car made for one person, and that was Elon. So going forward in the future, I recommend he do the same thing that I just said, which is maybe make products for the market and not yourself.
I've seen Ford F-150 charging now, Tesla chargers, as well as do a weekly Good Climate News show, and I talked about that GM truck that did, I think, almost 1,000 miles on one charge. It broke record recently, which is amazing.
Mhm.
Those are more practical trucks for actual.
Yeah, I love the Ford Lightning. I think it's a great vehicle. Need more. I'm just going to get better with iterations. I think it just needs a little bit more time.
Yeah, the batteries.
Yeah. I think Ford's problem isn't more batteries. They need better density in their batteries. so they can store
Right,
more
right.
energy.
Maybe better batteries. Yeah, batteries. Seems like they figured out how to give a lot of rain.
It seems like that. I was skeptical about the Ultimum platform for a very long time, but it seems like they've finally unlocked it. I was kind of the sneaky one of the whole big three. They were very quiet about their investments in electric vehicles, but they really put a lot of money in behind it. Really interested to see the next wave of vehicles because, like, yes, came out the lyric like more and more of these cars driving around here in San Francisco, which means in about 2 to 3 years, the rest of the country will start to see those too. Just seeing like a lot of more excitement around their vehicles in general.
Most people don't even know GM has 8 electric cars on the market.
I know.
They just don't know that. And Honda electric car is really a GM.
Yeah,
Used to be the Japanese companies used to take a Japanese model and rebrand it as American. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Japanese car companies taking an American car and rebranding it.
that's actually maybe one of the best points that I've heard made about why the auto OEMs should be investing heavily into electric vehicles. Like it will win them back the market that they've sort of slowly bled away over the last 20 or 30 years. I'm more bullish on
They won't even be around if they don't do it.
yeah, exactly. If they continue to just keep going down the internal combustion path, it's a dying business and
They-
they'll die with it.
They'll become the Kodaks and the Blockbusters of the
Yes,
world.
they will.
Are these highly stylized, flashy EVs like the Cybertruck a necessary part of the transition to grab public attention, even if they're not so practical?
Gosh, you know what? I would have to say I probably do agree with that. It needs to achieve the things that it's promised. I think the biggest thing with the Cybertruck was it was promising so much that it just couldn't deliver on it, and I don't think it delivered on any of it. And I think that's the bigger failure. But when you look at like designs, I think of like the Jaguar, where you have a wow factor that you're not used to seeing. You want these vehicles to turn heads because you no longer have to stick with the same design structure that you have with internal combustion because the engine isn't there anymore. So you can make it whatever you want. You just put it on a skateboard and then you design whatever you want on top of that. And I'm really happy to see more and more automakers take a bold and dynamic choice in the design aspect. And I do think we're going to start to see more of these like designs that you used to see in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s from the automakers. And we're not going to start to see a range of designs of vehicles on the road, which is great because then everybody can kind of they like.
Hey, I was in Las Vegas for day one of Public 5 Destination. Talk about a different design.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
put 2 videos on nighttime and a daytime on my on Clean Titan, so you can go see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that takes off, it will disrupt urban transportation for people and packages deliveries.
Yeah, I agree with
We
you
won't
there.
need cars. We won't need parking lots. We won't need so many roads. We won't need garages in homes. That will be just an amazing, clean new world.
I agree with you. I mean, I have both Waymo and Zoox on the roads already. And those are really gobbling up the rideshare market. I do think there's still going to be a lot of people who want to own a car and just be able to drive their car wherever they want. But my hope is generally the same, where like you start replacing like the bus here, which is you do a lot with the autonomous vehicles. I think that is actually going to be a really changer in the next 10 years.
It can save society, countries, trillions of dollars, literally. Of any asset from 1 to 5% to 20 or 30 or 40, you're doing an order of magnitude change for the society. The cost of transporting people and packages just plummets.
Yeah, the thing is going to be even crazier because they're test out your drone delivery.
Yeah, it's all doing it.
Yeah, so I think to like yeah, we are walking into a very different world right now.
You've dedicated your career to startups with a mission to build a more sustainable future. Why is it so important for you to be working on solutions that are not just profitable, but also have a positive impact?
I mean, that's my morals. I'm sure that the things that I put my money into, that I put my time into, are going to have a positive impact on society and people. And so I really like working in the clean energy space. This, but I'll say it too. Like there is Earth B. There's no second planet here. Like this is it, and we should take better care of this. Like thing in the universe that we know of is the place that we live. We have never found any other place in the known universe that we can live. So
Yeah.
we should very good care of this very rare gem that we live on.
Yes. Pale blue dot.
Yes.
But Rom is a physicist.
Packs that can fit into kind of cranny, bring EV charging in. The load balancing in an intelligent way, it doesn't need necessarily be AI. I think that's sort of a catch-all phrase for anything like machine learning, pattern recognition. It just needs to be able to understand how much power is being used and then how much power is available and where and when to send that power. So that little equation is a little difficult to get to right now. We're slowly getting it unlocked with the help of AI. Understand, okay, the back system is now off. That means we have 100 amps available to dedicate to these chargers. But we also want to understand how much each one of those chargers actually needs and can actually accept. So I don't just give them full time. I can pull them down and say like, car is likely to be here for 8 hours, which means it only needs about 20 amps over the course of that 8 hours to pull it back up. And that's kind of where we're trying to get to.
And different cars are going to pull different amps based on their circuitry.
So it is a lot of nuance that is still coming out. We will actually get to the final version of load management that we're working on at Pando.
So what's the game-changing product from Pando Electric without giving away secrets? Can you give us a glimpse of what's on the horizon and how it will disrupt the industry?
Yeah, I think really the biggest game changer for us was like simplify things and solve for more and more of the edge cases so that they don't happen. I think one of the things that we're trying to replicate in a way is gas station model, which is we show up to a gas station that most of the time, like the pump is going to work exactly the way that I want it to. And that's because they've had about 100 years of time to figure all that stuff out. Have that peace of mind going to any gas station in the country. I know I can, my credit card, grab the nozzle, put it in the car, and it'll start filling my car up like that. And there's no like that process. That's what we're trying to get to with Pando today. Introducing a new product, our Pando Smart Outlet Gen 2, that is going to solve for a lot of the use cases that like within a parking garage. Connectivity issues for only the station itself, but also for the EV driver. So we're eliminating those entirely. We're eliminating the issues of maintenance for the property owner. We're eliminating the issues of power capacity for the property owner so that you come in, they want to put an EV charging, but it's not this crazy expensive appliance that they have to put in, that it's very affordable. The outlets for only $5.99.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much I paid approximately for my charger.
Trying to drive down the cost, really make it it is designed.
And commercial ones are extremely, that's the home one. Commercial ones cost like I think 20 or 30,000 some time ago. I don't know what the current price is, but years ago I looked into it and it was like 20, 30,000 even for an apartment building.
It is that expensive. And then on top of that, you have all those maintenance costs. And so you're trying to all these roadblocks that have been put in would make somebody not want the system to begin with. And so we have to do this very delicate balance in the apartment community, especially. There's three pillars that you kind of care of. The first one is the EV drivers themselves, who want a station that they know when they come in, they have the peace of mind, no matter what time I come in, there's going to be a station available and it's going to work. So we have to solve for that. The second one is the community at large, the larger community. They want to ensure that every single resident has that same exact access. So you don't want to put in just one charger and then you're going to say, oh, well, you use it, but I don't, or vice versa. We need to put in enough for both of us so that everybody can use it equally anytime. And then the last one is for the property owner themselves to be able to actually do cost of upfront investment, number one. And number two, give them ways to actually recoup on that investment. That's usually, EV drivers get upset about that sometimes, but the reality is systems is, it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do so. and the property owner should have the right to try to make that money back over time. Not really that big a deal. You're paying for the convenience of being able to come home and plug in any old time. But you want to balance out those three pillars, and that's kind of where Pando's like on.
Do you think we're overthinking the need for ultra fast charging? For a
Yeah.
lot of people living in apartments, is a smarter, slower level 2 charger all they really need to get by day to day?
Yes, 100%. You do not need ultra fast charging. I see more and more. I was just at a big charging expo not that long ago, and I was seeing some chargers that were like output, which is, it sounds cool, but the reality is like vehicles can't even accept that much power. I don't think there's any actually on the road that can today.
In America,
Yeah. Two, it's just going crazier and crazy. It's like power. It's, I call it the tool time problem. I don't know if anybody watched Home Improvement back in the day with Tim Allen, where the main character would always build these ridiculous devices that were all full of too much power. And that's kind of the EV industry has been doing, is like power, because they want to fill up the battery in 5 minutes. When the reality should be, you just move it over to your house. It's more convenient. Number one, like I have to drive to another point to fill up my vehicle. I can just come home, park, plug in, and that's it. I'm just,
right? Yeah. EVs back in 2018, and it hardly ever charged outside my home except on long trips. Even short trips within an hour, a few hours of my home, it was fine. Home charging was more than what I ever did. I never used any outside chargers unless
yeah.
I forgot it or something to charge.
Yeah, I don't, like a lot of people are going to get to, because you look at, daily driving usage actually is, Americans drive under 40 miles round trip each day. They don't have to replace that much energy. That being said, there is a spot for high power, like DC fast chargers, like road tripping and distance journeys or destination charging, all that we should do. But this hyper focus on more public charging, more fast charging is really like actually getting more people to drive EV.
I know in China they keep there's a company that says 1 minute 150. It was 4 minute charging.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that is going to kind of here as well. I think generally speaking, we also have other issues with the grid at large. Like the grid is old. It hasn't been truly updated since the like.
We're still using 1908 wire technology.
Yeah.
So we have wires now that can do 350% more capacity, 50% less line loss. So that adds 350%. But the grid operators have no incentives to upgrade, unfortunately.
They're changing slowly. I mean, here PG&E is really starting to line rating systems. One of the companies I really love is called Heimdall. I think they're really starting to move and start really installing scale here in the U.S. I think it is slow, but
Where are they located?
They're actually out of, I believe, Finland.
In the U.S. are they installing?
California.
Well, they do everything first.
Yeah, we have the biggest problem. We are always the first to the problem, and so we have to come up with the solution.
Well, you're the biggest state, right?
Yeah.
In your role as a venture investor, you get to see a wide range of startups. When a founder pitches you a clean energy or mobility company, what are the top three things that immediately grab your attention?
That's a very good question. I think the first thing is usually the idea itself. Like, can this work? Pitched a lot of all sorts of different ideas. Some, not only a clean tech investor, I invest in quite a lot of different types of startups, but I always want to like, this actually makes sense. Can it work? Does it have real world viability? Always something I want to see proof points as well. So I want to see somebody, not only do I think it can work, did somebody else pay to use it? If you don't have any paying customers, that's going to be a big problem. And then the last one is your business model, right? Like, you intend to make money. It's really easy to have like a great idea, but if you don't have a way to actually monetize or monetize to the point where it is going to be a good investment, it's going to be very difficult to find people who are willing to put their money into it. Those three things are going to be your biggest hurdle. At the end of the day, for an investor, they might be the most well-intentioned investor on the planet. What they really want is to see a return on their investment. And so that's what you need to be focused on more than the technology or anything else.
We've seen a lot of money flow into EVs, but where do you see the next big investment opportunities beyond just vehicles and charging? Are you looking at battery technology, grid management, or perhaps something entirely different?
No, you nailed it. Grid. They're like this is all directly tied to both EVs and AI and cryptocurrencies, actually. They're all super power intensive. And if we want to continue to drive down that path of AI, crypto, EVs, we need more power generation, we need more power distribution. And unfortunately, our grid can't do either one. So we need to come up with new solutions on how we end up powering data centers, powering properties, powering vehicles. Are going to be kind of hidden right now, but I think as we move forward and we continue to grow AI, continue to grow crypto, continue to grow EVs, those are the things that are going to come to the forefront. And we're going to see a lot more battery technology, a lot more stabilization technology, and a lot more power generation technologies as well. Like you're already talking about modular solar generators. So that type of stuff is here already, and it's just going to get bigger.
Your past experience includes the role at Orange Charger. What were some of the key lessons you learned in that when you from MIT? And he was saying, stability.
Yes.
And in 100 years, all coastal cities, New York boroughs, Norfolk Naval Base, Miami, Houston, Corpus Christi, Bay areas of San Diego, LA, San Francisco, up north, the entire map of the coast will change. But you don't even have to wait 100 years, 50 years from now. You're saying which bank is going to write a 30-year mortgage for coastal property? Which insurance will write a insurance policy? They won't. This whole area will become uninsurable, unbankable, and you have trillions and trillions of dollars of property. And our economy can't handle that. He said, remember that subprime bubble that burst in 2008? And that caused the economy to go into free fall with millions of jobs lost every month? That's going to look like kindergarten, child's play.
I mean, the that is that we're already there, but people just don't realize. Like Miami's already invested hundreds of millions of dollars to like raise theirs for flooding. That happened 10 years ago, and it was supposed to be a 100-year solution that now they've already had to redo 10 years later. Like you're looking at just an insane amount of money that has to be spent now, and that's magically stopped the damage we're doing today.
I was in San Diego back in May, and I met this guy. He owns a home near the coast. He said his property insurance is up to $30,000. It's an old home. He said, I can't afford it. I don't have insurance. If my house burns down, that's it. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, there's countless people like that.
Let's look 5 to 10 years into the future. What does the landscape of EV charging infrastructure look like in a world where Pando Electric has succeeded? How does it change daily life for everyday people?
I think if Pando succeeded, like you will see people not have to worry about where they live to buy an EV. You're gonna have people, doesn't matter where you live, you'll be able to purchase an EV and have full faith that it's going to be able to be charged. My ideal is that you never think about it ever again. That's what I really want to get to, where it's not like I need to figure out where I'm going to find a place to charge my car. It's like I don't think about it because there's so many that it's not a thing I have to actively worry about. That's kind of where the future for this company is ensuring no matter what living situation you find yourself in, whether it's a single family home, multifamily apartment, or anything, have a place to charge your vehicle that's convenient and affordable.
I traveled to China for work, and she was telling me that she was riding in somebody's car, and it was a gas car, and the other person went and parked in an apartment building at a stall with the EV charger. And she said, why are you parking here? This is for EVs. And you know what she said? You'll be surprised. She said, they're all EV charging stalls. It doesn't matter where you park. There's an EV charger in every stall.
Yeah, me too. That's exactly where we need to get to.
As we wrap up, what final messages would you like to share with our audience of Clean Titans, the entrepreneurs, investors, and visionaries who are looking to make their mark on the clean energy revolution?
Ooh, I think in general, I would just say that, keep a lot of headwinds right now. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. There's tons of negativity around the industry that we find ourselves in for very stupid reasons, but they're there. However, there will be naysayers. There's always going to be people who doubt, and there's always going to be someone who's going to try to hold you back. Don't let them. Keep pushing. If you have the idea and you have the vision and you believe in it, don't give up.
Yeah, and even they're moving on. I mean, they're coming out with new models. Maybe they delayed things a little bit, but they're massively investing in new electric vehicles and new battery plants and new technologies.
I mean, it's funny, right? Like, you can read all the lines all day long, but if you look where the money is going, they are not stopping. So this industry.
Walmart is going to put 10,000 superchargers at every supercenter
Yep.
in America. And there's a Walmart 10 minutes away from every American.
I mean, it's more and more. Like, you look at every OEM, they're investing heavily into the makers are growing substantially, not just in the US, but across the world. This would be a big change. I think there is a lot of noise, but I think they're leaning into this space. So it's not something that I think we need to really overly concern ourselves with.
Right. If Walmart is doing it, they know they wouldn't do it unless they thought that this is happening. And Costco is doing it. There's a whole bunch of restaurant chains that are 24-hour and they're planning to, and even Shell has a division and BP that is putting chargers now at their gas stations.
Yeah, absolutely. I miss for,
right. Of their heart right now.
It's just business.
Right. I mean, and they understand if they don't do it, they'll be left out. They'll be gone, like the.
Exactly.
So, how many chargers do you think an apartment? How many Pando chargers do they need, or outlets?
Yeah, today it depends on how many where they're at in the country. So if they're in the Bay, you're looking at probably 40% of the parking spaces need a charger, and that's just based on new vehicle sales over the last couple of years have been that high out here. So that's what you're looking at. The rest can argue 10 to 20%. It depends on where you're at, but be prepared to scale.
So is there a different pricing versus 20 or 30 or 40%?
Yes, with the big asterisk of I don't know until I go to your property. Every building is so wildly different. People ask, like, why can't you just give me a flat rate? And I'm like, I have no idea what it will cost to put in anything on that property because everything's different. So it's one of those, you have to kind of get some look at it first, and then they'll give you more or less an estimate. And I recommend it for people who are pursuing that. Get like 3 estimates, start to see that, all the have they doing estimations as well. And so you want to make sure that you get a pretty full view of what exactly it's going to cost.
What about if you just got like 1% or your
better than none, but I would, based on my expertise in this industry, I would argue that every year seeing the number of EVs on site double, at least for the first 3 years. So the minute we start putting in EV charging on a site, we start to see more and more EV drivers show up at that rate. So our largest install is down in East Palo Alto. It's 92 chargers. We started out with 2 people we started with 4 people. And now this year, almost 1 year later, they're at 8. And we appear to be somewhere around 16. And that's where people go to because they're like, oh, now I can charge it at home. I've removed this one thing that's been holding me back, and they'll go out and buy that EV that they want.
As well as it might be self-selection, because if they know a building, an apartment complex has EV charging, then people with EVs are going to naturally want to not live in a building that doesn't have any charging capabilities.
Well, yeah, it's not an attractive amenity for EV, but it also is a value add to the property. Like each unit, you with a grain of salt, this is internal for us. It's about $10,000 unit value added. So every unit you put in is another 10 grand of property value just added to that site. So it's not only some way to get more residents through the door, but it's also something that value of your property.
As well as those residents are not going to move around. They're going to stay there long term, which is the best kind of customers for apartment
Yeah, create
company.
a stickiness for people who have moved in and do own EVs because it's so very difficult to find a good place that also has EV charging as an amenity.
Right. They're going to stay there. They're not moving. EV charger, right?
It's absolutely correct.
Well, Joseph, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your incredible insights with us today. This has been a truly profound and valuable conversation. For our viewers, if you want to learn more about Joseph's work, you can find him on LinkedIn. Check out Pando Electric. As always, if you found this interview insightful, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and share with your friends and others that who might be passionate about building a cleaner future. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time with more good news from the world of climate tech.